Okay, today we're going to do multiplying and dividing fractions. So multiplying and dividing fractions, I think, easier than just adding and subtracting because you do not have to have a common denominator. So when you multiply fractions, you just multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. So 3 times 4 is 12, 7 times 5 is 35. And at the end, you see if you can reduce it to write it in simplest form. So is there a number that goes into 12 and 34 that you can divide 12 and 35 by? Nope. So that's the answer. The second one, this means multiplication too, so it's 2 over 5 times 3 is 15. And you can't reduce it anymore, so it's 2/15. The third one is going to be 10 over 18. And since there's one negative, the answer is negative, because a negative times a positive is a negative. And then you're going to reduce that fraction by dividing the top by 2 and the bottom by 2 to get 5/9. Always write your answer in simplest form. And letter A is 35 on the top and 72 on the bottom. And there's not a number that goes into both of them, so there's your answer. Letter B is -3 on the top and then 32 on the bottom. Because a negative times a positive, the whole answer is going to be negative. C, we know the whole answer is going to be positive because a negative times a negative is a positive. So 2 times 1 is 2, 3 times 4 is 12, and then you reduce it. So 2/12 is 1/6. So watch your signs and make sure you reduce your fraction at the end. Okay, if you're going to multiply two mixed numbers, you have to turn them into improper fractions first. So remember, to turn into improper fraction, you do 2 times 2 plus 1. 2 times 2 plus 1 is 5, and you keep the denominator the same. So it's 5/2 times 1/2, which is 5/4. Can't be reduced. Letter B, you do 3 times 4, which is 12, plus 3, which is 15. So 15/4 times 2/5 is 30/20. You can divide both of those by 10, so it's 3/2 is your answer. Letter C, it's 2/3 times 1 times 7, which is 7, plus 2 is 9. So 9/7. 2 times 9 is 18. 3 times 7 is 21. And then you can divide the top by 3 and the bottom by 3. So it's 6/7. And the last one, we know the last one, the answer is going to be a negative, because a negative times a positive is a negative. So change it to a mixed or improper fraction. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 5 is 17, so it's 17/6 times 8/5. So one way you can do this is, if I multiply 17 times 8, I get a big number. I can actually reduce these two right now to be 4/3, because I divide them both by 2, so that kind of helps. So 17 times 4, 17 times 2 is 34, so this is 68 over 3 times 5 is 15. And that does not reduce anymore because 68 is not divisible by 3, because 6 plus 8 is 14, so that's not divisible by 3. So here's the answer. And when you divide fractions, what you do is you change it to a multiplication problem. So to change it to a multiplication problem, you keep the first fraction exactly the same, but then the second fraction gets flipped over. So it's times 5/2. You multiply by what's called the reciprocal. I'll spell that out. Reciprocal is when you flip a fraction upside down. So instead of a over b, okay, down here, you try it. So I'm going to do the same thing. This is a division problem. So division, you write the first problem out, but you change it to a multiplying problem and take the reciprocal. The reciprocal is when you flip the fraction over. So it's going to be 3 over 2. So in this case, these 2's are not both on the top and the bottom, so there's nothing I can cancel out. So I'm going to multiply across and get negative 3/4. And it can't be reduced. Letter B, I'm going to change both of these to a mixed number first. So it's going to turn into negative 8/5 divided by 6/5. Okay, so then I'm going to change this to a multiplication problem. So it's negative 8/5 times the reciprocal of 6/5 is 5/6. Okay, here's another case how it's faster to cancel out factors on the top and on the bottom. So I'm going to be left with negative 8/6, which reduces to negative 4/3 is my answer. And then letter C, change them both to improper fractions. So it's 7/2 divided by 1 times 3 is 3 plus 2 is 5/3. Now I'm going to change it to a multiplication problem. 7/2 times the reciprocal of 5/3 is 3/5. Okay, I don't see anything that can cancel out because there's nothing that 3 and 2 reduce, or 7 and 5 don't reduce. So this is going to be 21/10 is your answer. So when you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across. When you divide fractions, you change it to a multiplying problem and flip the second fraction, which is called the reciprocal.